Hi, I'm Mrs. Cavalier, and welcome to my fall reading review. Let's talk about the books that you get to choose from for your 12th grade fall reading assignment. The first book is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. One of the many things I took from this book is that although the human spirit can be crushed, it is impossible to kill. Written by the late Ken Casey, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a dark satire that takes place in a mental institution during the late 1950s. The protagonist, R.P. McMurphy, is a fast-talking con man that gets himself committed in order to escape doing time on a prison work farm. Once inside the institution, his freewheeling nature collides with Nurse Ratched and her seemingly omnipotent authority. It is a war of wills as she attempts to break his spirit and maintain power over the inmates by any means necessary, while McMurphy fights to breathe life back into the patients and revitalize their own broken spirits. Well, who will win, and at what cost? In my opinion, this is probably one of the greatest American novels. It's definitely a must-read for anyone who's ever wanted to fight back against the mechanisms of the institution, which is just about everyone, I think, at some point in their lives. It's definitely a book about courage and refusing to be cowed into, accepting a life that is not your own. So I'm going to go ahead and just read an excerpt from A Clockwork Orange. Let's see. So, good morning, buddies. There's a paper Halloween bat hanging on a string above his head. He reaches up and flicks it so it spins around. Mighty nice fall day. He talks a little the way Papa used to, voice loud and full of hell, but he doesn't look like Papa. Papa was a full-blooded Columbia Indian, a chief, and hard and shiny as a gumstock. This guy is red-headed with long red sideburns and a tangle of curls out from under his cap. Been needing a cut a long time. And he's broad as Papa was tall, broad across the jaw and shoulders and chest, a broad, white, devilish grin. And he's hard in a different kind of way from Papa, kind of the way a baseball is hard from under the scuffed leather. A seam runs across his nose, and one cheekbone where somebody laid him a good one in a fight. And the stitches are still in the seam. He stands there waiting, and when nobody makes a move to say anything to him, he commences to laugh. Nobody can tell exactly why he laughs. There's nothing funny going on. But it's not the way that public relation laughs. It's free and loud, and it comes out of his wide, grinning mouth and spreads in rings bigger and bigger till he's slapping against the walls all over the ward. Not like that fat public relation laugh. This sounds real. I realize all of a sudden it's the first laugh I've heard in years. He stands looking at us, rocking back in his boots, and he laughs and laughs. He laces his fingers over his belly without taking his thumbs out of his pockets. I see how big and beat up his hands are. Everybody on the ward, patients, staff, and all, is stunned dumb by him and is laughing. There's no move to stop him, no move to say anything. He laughs till he's finished for a time, and then he walks on into the day room. Even when he isn't laughing, that laughing sound hovers around him, the way the sound hovers around a big bell just quit ringing. It's in his eyes, in the way he smiles and swaggers, in the way he talks. My name is McMurphy, buddies, R.P. McMurphy, and I'm a gambling fool. He winks and sings a little piece of a song, and whenever I meet with a deck of cards, I lays my money down, and he laughs again. He walks to one of the card games, tips and acutes cards up with a thick, heavy finger and squints at the hand, and shakes his head. Yes, sir, that's what I came to this establishment for, to bring you birds, fun, and entertainment around the gaming table. Nobody left in that Pendleton work farm to make my days interesting anymore, so I requested a transfer, you see. Needed some new blood. Hoo-wee! Look at all the way this bird holds his cards, showing to everybody in a block. Man, I'll trim you babies like little lambs. So that is their first meeting with McMurphy. So that is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Our next book is A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. Now, even though the book was written over 50 years ago, I believe it is still as powerful today as it was back then, perhaps even more so. Alex, the protagonist, is almost innocently committing violent crimes with his friends, for he isn't trying to be bad, he just is. He likes violence, and that's the way he is. When Alex's friends gang up on him and leave him to be arrested by the police, Alex is sentenced to 14 years in prison. But then the opportunity to change presents itself to Alex, and he can't help but take the offer. Without ruining the story, I could say that when everything is said and done, important questions arise. Is being good truly good if it is not by choice? Is it good to be bad? You know, that's what one chooses? The book first came out in the 60s, and the American version lacked actually the last and 21st chapter from the book. Depending on which copy you read, the last chapter or without it, the book will have an entirely different feel to it. So the old copy represents the horrible realization that bad minds are always bad, and the newer version leaves the reader with hope. The version that we have here at the high school, it's going to look backwards, but it looks like this, and the older version, I believe, is the one that's there. So A Clockwork Orange is truly a great work, one that will appeal to people for different reasons and affect them in a completely different way. But it will affect them. Now, my suggestion to you, if you do want to read Clockwork Orange, is to go online and find a glossary to help you out with so many of the invented slang that is in this novel. I would read an excerpt, but I really, honestly, I don't want to sound like an idiot. And once you read it, you'll know why. So again, glossary, Clockwork Orange. Just know it definitely has its fill of violence. So if you don't like violence, so that's A Clockwork Orange. Our third book is L.M.N.O.P. by Mark Dunn. L.M.N.O.P. is a girl who, living happily on this fictional island of Nollop off the coast of South Carolina. Now, Nollop was named after Nevin Nollop, author of the immortal pangram, The Quick Brown Fox Jumps Over the Lazy Dog. A pangram is when you can use all 26 letters of the alphabet in one sentence or phrase. Now, Ella finds herself acting to save her friends, family, and fellow citizens from the encroaching totalitarianism of the island's council, which has banned the use of certain letters of the alphabet as they fall from the memorial statue of Nevin Nollop. As the letters progressively drop from the statue, they also disappear from the novel. So the result is both a hilarious and moving story of one girl's fight for freedom of expression, as well as a linguistic tour de force sure to delight word lovers everywhere. So I'm just going to read you a little snippet of L.M.N.O.P. This is also from the beginning. This is to her cousin Tassie. It says, I wish that you could be here. It has been an odd gathering, a warm confluence of kindred souls, yet in terms of the pervasive atmosphere, conversely, even perversely funereal. I would like to have had my dear cousin at my side as we approach the fateful smoke and chime. Reluctantly, do we bid farewell to Mistress Z, embracing her warmly, heartily, as if determined never to let her leave our side. In spirit most festive do we attempt with all our intellectual muscle to name as many words as we are able from the pool of those we will soon be forbidden to use. Such a very long list we have produced, a list which will soon and sadly be curling black in the pop-crafted salad ceramic enlisted for its incineration. My uncle Zachary will henceforth go by his middle name, Isaac. His jocular carpenter mates, Buzz and Zeke, ask that they now be called, respectively, Lil Tristan and Prince Valiant the Comely. Zeke is actually applying for a legal name change. No longer may we speak of the topaz sea, which laps our breeze-kissed shores, nor ever again describe azure-tinted horizons sheared by the violent blazes of our brilliant island sunrises. Hundreds of words await ostracism from our functional vocabularies. Waltz and fizz and squeeze and booze and frozen pizza pie. Frizzy and fuzzy and dizzy and duzzy. The visualization of emphysema-zapped Tarzans, wheezing and sneezing, holding glazed and andalized bazookas, seized by all the bizarrities of this zany zone we call home. Dazed or zombified citizens will recognize hazardous organizations of zealots in their hazy mist. Too late to size down. Immobilized we is. Minimalized, paralyzed, zip, zap, z. Crazy. Did I say crazy? The books have all disappeared. You were right about the books. We will have to write new ones now. But what will we say without the whiz that was? For we cannot even write of its history, because to write of it is to write it, and as of midnight it becomes ineffable. As of 5 seconds from now, as of now, the clock chimes 12. Goodbye. I have such a ghastly headache. I believe I'll go lie down now. Love, your cousin Ellie. So, of course, Z fell off the statue, so Z was no longer used. Oh, by the way, L.M.N.O.P. looks like that. Sorry. That's what the cover of L.M.N.O.P. looks like. I forgot. Sorry, seniors. Okay, so our last book that we're going to talk about is Wild by Cheryl Strayed. Loved this book. This is a memoir. So this book contains two major storylines, interwoven, Cheryl's inner and outer journey. It takes place at a critical juncture in her life. It is engaging and well written. Here are her words from the prologue on the two journeys and her hope for them. A world, the Pacific Crest Trail, I thought would both make me into the woman I knew I could become and turn me back into the girl I'd once been. So the outer journey follows her on the Pacific Crest Trail from Southern California to Washington State. The PCT, which is what they call it, is like the Appalachian Trail on the East Coast, yet less traveled. So it's in the summer of 1995, Cheryl hikes 1,100 miles along this trail. The inner journey is her healing and coming to terms with herself. Before she starts her hike, we know that her mom has died of cancer. Her marriage ended, and her family is falling apart. She's broke, and she's been doing heroin. As she hikes the PCT, more events and stories from her life and relationships are revealed. I would describe this book as a combination of a memoir, like a light travelogue, I guess, a self-awareness book. I'm not a huge fan of travelogues, but when I was reading this, there's so many details of where she was on her trip and how she did it that I found myself flipping back. There's a map in the front. I used that. I was looking at other references to see where she was along the path. I also looked up some of the poems she referenced and found myself Googling the sites that she saw along the way. So, you know, although it's this memoir, I found myself really looking into where she went, and, you know, just because she wrote about them so beautifully that I wanted to see them myself. The details and how they are written brought the book to life. You know, for example, her personification of her backpack she calls Monster, her toenail count, which is gross, and how she describes her inner radio repetitive song voice as she gets monotonous and painful on the trail. It's just really unbelievable. The writing is very direct, it's brutally honest, and it's concise and to the point, which is really just like Cheryl Strayed. Wild is one of the most unique and best books I've read in a really long time. It was a book I was tempted to read fast in several sittings, you know, but instead I made myself slow down and really enjoy her writing. Well, that is it, folks. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. If you're interested in following what I happen to be reading this summer, you can check out our library's Instagram page, which is @library_NHS, or our Twitter account, oh yes, which is @NHSLIB. Have a great summer. Bye.